Welcome to Camp Mode for Dummies, or I guess in a nicer way, a beginner's guide to camp mode. So this video was requested by Coops, so shout out to Coops. I hope you got your grey Tesla Model Y, you're joining Team Grey. So I hope you've got it now, I hope you're enjoying it, I hope you've had a chance to go Tesla camping. But if not, this video is for you and also anyone else out there who is considering going camping in their Tesla, or you just want to understand how you actually properly set up camp mode, what's the best settings, what do all of these little icons mean. That's exactly what we're going to break down in this quick video. So what you want to do if you want to enable camp mode is you want to touch your climate control here, so just tap the temperature, that whatever temperature you've got set there is going to bring up this display. And what we want to do is we want to press camp, and this is going to enable camp mode. So you can see there it says camp mode enabled, car will stay on until battery reaches 20%, Sentry Mode, security alarm and walkaway lock will be disabled. So that is very important. So let's just quickly break this down. So the reason that the camp mode will be enabled until the battery reaches 20% is to basically avoid you waking up at your campsite or wherever it is that you're sleeping and having like 5% battery left, or in a worst case scenario 0% battery, and then you're goosed. So what it's going to do is, if you haven't planned properly and it's used lots of energy, it's going to automatically disable camp mode at 20%, and that is going to save that final 20% of battery, so that when you wake up you've got an opportunity to go somewhere and charge. That actually happened to us in Italy, but it's only happened to us once, and it's because we were staying there for multiple days and we didn't actually charge while we were at the campsite. So the next section is Sentry Mode is disabled, so you're not going to have access to Sentry Mode, which is unfortunate, but it just is what it is. You're most likely going to be using camp mode when you're sleeping in it. That is the best practice. And if you're sleeping in the car and something was to happen to the car, hopefully you would be there to be alerted by it, but you're not going to have any evidence of it with Sentry Mode, unfortunately. Security alarm will be disabled, and the reason for this is you could be sleeping in your car, you could be rolling about and making a bit of movement, and if the car's locked and the security alarm is on, then it's going to think that someone's trying to get into the car, and it's going to set off the alarm, and you're going to disgruntle all of your neighbours around you. You're going to give them an early wake up, and that is not what we want. So security alarm is automatically disabled. There's no way to re-enable that without turning off camp mode. And walkaway lock will be disabled as well, so do remember this. I have occasionally, say I'm not camping, maybe I am just somewhere for a couple of hours and I'm just in the car chilling. I'll put camp mode on and maybe I'll go outside to pop somewhere, and I'll forget that camp mode is on, and I forget that walkaway door lock is disabled. So you actually have to remember to manually lock or unlock the car up here with the icon, or you can do it on your app as well. So that is essentially what happens with camp mode. Normally what will happen when you turn on camp mode is it will be set to auto. So if typically most people, when they drive about in their Tesla, they've got their climate set to auto, and that's typically what will happen when you turn on camp mode. So auto is fine, you could roll with auto, but best practice, this is our tip if you want the most efficient battery consumption using camp mode, but you also want to remain at a reasonable temperature, is to turn off auto, and then what you want to do is manually change your fan speed to 1. So that is obviously the lowest setting that you can go. You can't go any lower, there's no 0.5, it's just 1. But that is going to ensure that the car is as quiet as possible, but it's still going to allow air to flow through the car. It's going to provide you with enough ventilation, and it is going to keep the car at the target temperature. We've had no issues setting it manually, the fan speed. If you want, you can just leave it in auto. You can choose between low, medium or high fan speed, but I don't know who would be using high or medium fan speed. Maybe if you're used to having white noise in the background to get to sleep, maybe that would be a scenario where you would use that. But another thing to be mindful of is that while it may sound a bit louder inside the car when you've got it set to high, if you actually go outside the car while this is on, it can actually be quite loud outside. If you are camping at a campsite and you've got people around you, you want to be respectful, so just bear that in mind. You might end up annoying your camping neighbours if you have it up high. So keep it at low if you want, and you can basically turn off auto. You'll see what fan speed that was set to. It was set to 2 on low, and you can just change that down to 1. That is what we'd recommend, and that's it. That is all you need to do. Make sure you've got enough charge. I've currently got 61% battery here. Typically we advise turning up to your campsite with about 60 to 80% of charge if you plan on staying there for, you know, a good couple of nights. And again, just use camp mode when you're actually going to sleep. Don't have camp mode on for the entire camping trip. There's no need for that, unless you're going to be staying in your car for the entire trip, which you're most likely not going to do unless it is absolutely bucketing and raining outside. Maybe you would, but yeah, try and only use it when you're actually going to sleep. It's going to make sure that you don't drain the battery is more than you actually need to. And if you do need to say top up, you could drive away from your campsite, find your nearest Tesla supercharger, find another third-party charger, or if you've got the universal mobile connector, you could trickle charge off the electric hookup at your campsite as well. Just make sure you speak to the campsite owners, let them know what you intend to do, make sure it's okay with them. You just want to stay on good terms with the owners of the campsite. You want a good relationship there. So I wouldn't advise just going and plugging in your Tesla and charging it at the campsite without asking anybody, even if it's using the electric hookup that's been provided. I would definitely double check with them, because a lot of campsite owners don't understand you know, how much power is going to get drawn, and some of them have policies as well where they just don't allow EV charging, so double check with them. Some campsites now actually do have EV chargers on site, so that is very helpful too. So now the rest of the icons is a little bonus feature here. These aren't necessarily going to be super helpful with camp mode, but it's sometimes just nice to know what all of these mean. So first of all, here you've got your heated seats. I don't know why this keeps popping away. I don't know if there's an easy way to just keep it on the screen, so I apologise for that. You've got your heated seats. We're not going to use those when we're camping. You've got your bio defense mode type thing. I don't really think you're ever going to need that. That's effectively just bringing all the air through the HEPA filters in your Tesla if you have those installed, and cleaning the air from outside and making sure the air inside the cabin is super clean. I wouldn't really recommend using that at all, or just ignore it. Here you've got your air circulation, so it's currently set to auto by default when you turn camp mode on, and I would just recommend leaving it on auto. Haven't had any issues there. Some people worry about the air circulation being set to circulate the air, so this is it recirculating the air inside the cabin. People worry that that is gonna be set on when they have camp mode on, and they're gonna get CO2 build up and things like this in the Tesla. Haven't tested that, but I would think it would be highly unlikely you're gonna have any CO2 issues there. But I think that is why when you turn camp mode on, it goes to auto. And if you really are paranoid about that, what you could do is turn camp mode on and then just set this manually to basically draw in air from outside. So that's exactly what that setting is going to do. Now it's grayed out, that means it's going to draw air from outside. Fresh air is going to come in, and then it's going to get brought into the cabin. You could just set it back to auto, though that's typically what we have. We've done the fan speed. This is your windshield heater, so this is your basically to heat up the windshield if you needed to. Maybe you were camping and there's been snow or something like that, or ice. You would potentially use that in that scenario. This is your rear screen as well, so if you needed to heat up the rear windscreen. I don't know what it's called in cars. I'm forgetting the word for it now, but basically just the rear screen, rear glass, and you can heat that up there. You've got your heated steering wheel. Again, you're not going to need that. Maybe you would turn it on if before you plan on driving away from your campsite. You could do that. You've got heated wipers here, so you can turn those on if you want. Again, if it's maybe been icy or snowy. And yeah, that's basically it. You could also turn on the rear fan if you want. So now we're in the rear section, just hit rear fan. Rear fan is now on, sorry, and we can just turn that off. So you could do that if you're sleeping in the back. Obviously, typically these seats are going to be folded down. You're going to be sleeping here, and then you've got the air coming out of the rear there. So you could turn that on if you want. Typically, we found that not a lot of air really comes out of there anyway, so you're pretty much okay with the fans up front. And what you could do when you turn on camp mode is you could adjust these, so you could point them up so that the air is gonna flow upwards and into the rear cabin area when you're sleeping, and then you can just turn them back down. And what you can actually even do is you can set up a custom profile for going to sleep. So you could call it sleep mode, camp mode, bedtime, whatever it is, and you could customize these so that they are all facing up. And when you change your profile, it should adjust these accordingly. When you then go back into your driving profile, it's going to change those airflow patterns back as well. But yeah, that is essentially the beginner's guide, dummy's guide to camp mode display settings. I hope that was helpful for you, Coop. I hope that was helpful for anybody else who's considering going camping in their Tesla. If there's anything I've missed out, drop them in the comments below. If you've got any questions, if you've got any requests for other videos that you want us to do, feel free to drop them down below in the comments. And if you want the full gear checklist of all of the kit that we recommend that you get for Tesla camping, you can find that in the description below as well. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys on the next one.